Shalom. Numbers 16. And Korath, son of Yishtar, son of Kathath, son of Lui, took both Dathan and Abram, the sons of Eliyahu, and On, son of Peleth, sons of Reuben. And they rose up before Masha with some of the children of Yashrael, 250 leaders of the congregation, called ones of the meeting, men of name. And they assembled against Masha and against Aaron, and said to them, Enough of you, for all of the congregation is Kadesh, and of them and Yahu'ah is in their midst. Why then do you lift up yourselves above the assembly of Yahu'ah? And when Masha heard, he fell on his face, and spoke to Korah and all his company, saying, Tomorrow morning Yahuwah shall make known who is his, and who is Kadesh, and come near to him, and let him bring near to him the one who he chooses. Do this, take fire holders, Korah, and all your company, and put fire in them, and put incense in them before Yahuwah tomorrow. And it shall be that the one whom Yahuwah chooses is the Kadesh one. Enough of you, sons of Lui. And Masha said to Korah, Hear now, you sons of Lui. It is little to you that the Yahu'ah of Yashrael has separated from you the congregation of Yashrael, to bring you near to himself, to perform the service of the Mishkan of Yahu'ah, and to stand before the congregation to serve them. And that he has brought you near to himself, and you and all your brothers, the sons of Lui, with you. Yet you seek the Kamarath as well. Therefore you and all your company are assembled against Yahu'ah, and Aaron, what is he that you grumble against him? And Masha sent to call the Dathan and Abram, the sons of Eliab, but they said, We are not coming up. Is it little that you have brought us up out of a land flowing with milk and honey, to kill us in the wilderness, that you would also seize total rule over us? Also, you have not brought us into a land flowing with milk and honey, nor given us inheritance of fields and vineyards. Would you bore out the eyes of these men? We are not coming up. And Masha became very displeased, and said to Yahu'ah, Do not respect their offering. I have not taken one donkey from them, nor have I done harm to any of them. Then Masha said to Korah, Tomorrow you and your company shall be there before Yahu'ah, you and they and Aaron. And take each one his fire holder, and you shall put incense in it, and let each one bring his fire holder before Yahu'ah. 250 fire holders, and you and Aaron, each one with his fire holder. Each one took his fire holder and put fire in it, and laid incense on it, and stood at the door of the tent of appointment with Masha and Aaron. And Korah assembled all the congregation against them at the door at the tent of appointment. Then the esteem of Yahu'ah appeared to all the congregation. And Yahuwah spoke to Masha and to Aaron, saying, Separate yourselves from the midst of this congregation, and let me consume them in a moment. But they fell on their faces and said, O Yahu'ah of the spirits of all flesh. When one man sins, you are wroth with all the congregation? And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to the congregation, saying, Move away from around the tents of Korah, Dathan, and Abram. So Moshe rose up and went to Dathan and Abram, and the elders of Yisrael followed him. And he spoke to the congregation, saying, Please turn away from the tents of these wicked men. Do not touch whatever belongs to them, lest you be consumed in all their sins. Then they moved away from around the tents of Korah, Dathan, and Abram. And Dathan and Abram came out and stood at the door of their tents with their wives and their sons and their little children. And Moshe said, By this you know that Yahuwah has sent me to do all these works, not because of my own heart. If these die as all men do, or if they are visited as all men are visited, then Yahuwah has not sent me. But if Yahuwah creates what is unheard of, and the earth opens its mouth and swallows them up with all the belongings to them, and they go down alive into the grave, then you shall know that these men have scorned Yahuwah. And it came to be, as he ended speaking all these words, that the ground under them split apart, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up, with their households and all the men with Korah, with all their goods. So they and all those with them went down alive into the grave, and the earth closed over them, and they perished from the midst of the assembly. And all Yisrael who were around about them fled at their cry, for they said, Lest the earth swallow us up. And a fire came out from Yahuwah and consumed the 250 men who were offering incense. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, Say to Eleazar, son of Aaron, the Kohan, to pick up the fire holders out of the blaze, for they are kadosh, and scatter their fire some distance away. The fire holders of these men who sinned against their own lives, let them be made into beaten plates as a covering for the altar, because they brought them before Yahuwah, therefore they are kadosh, and let them become a sign to the children of Yisrael. And Eleazar the Kohan took the bronze fire holders which those who were burned up had brought, and they were beaten out as a covering on the altar. A remembrance to the children of Yisrael that no stranger who is not of the seed of Aaron should come near to offer incense before Yahuwah, and not like Korah and his company, as Yahuwah had said to him through Moshe. But all the congregation of the children of Yisrael grumbled against Moshe and against Aaron on the next day, saying, You have killed the people of Yahuwah. And it came to be, when the congregation assembled against Moshe and against Aaron, that they turned toward the tent of appointment, and see, the cloud covered it, and the steam of Yahuwah appeared. And Moshe and Aaron came before the tent of appointment. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, Arise from the midst of this congregation, and let me consume them in a moment. And they fell on their faces. And Moshe said to Aaron, Take the fire holder, and put fire in it from the altar, and lay incense on it, and go. Hurry to the congregation and make atonement for them, for wrath has gone out from Yahuwah, the plague has begun. And Aaron took it as Moshe commanded, and ran into the midst of the assembly, and saw that the plague had begun among the people. And he laid on the incense and made atonement for the people. and stood between the dead and the living, and the plague was stopped. And those who died in the plague were 14,700, besides those who died on account of Korah. Then Aaron returned to Moshe at the door of the tent of appointment, for the plague had stopped. And Yahu'ah spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to the children of Yisrael, chapter 17. And take from them a rod from each father's house, all their leaders according to their father's houses, 12 rods. Write each one's name on his rod. And write Aaron's name on the rod of Lewi, for there is one rod for the head of each father's house. You shall then place them in the tent of appointment before the witness where I meet with you. And it shall be that the rod of the man whom I choose buds, and I shall rid myself of the grumblings of the children of Yisrael, which they grumble against you. And Moshe spoke to the children of Yisrael, and all the leaders gave him a rod, each for each leader according to their father's houses. 12 rods, and the rods of Aaron was among their rods. So Moshe placed the rods before Yahu'ah in the tent of the witness. And it came to be on the next day that Moshe went into the tent of the witness, and saw that the rod of Aaron of the house of Lewi had budded, and brought forth buds, and blossomed, and bore ripe almonds. And Moshe brought out all the rods from before Yahu'ah to the children of Yisrael, and they looked, and each man looked his rod, and took his rod. And Yahu'ah said to Moshe, Bring Aaron's rod back before the witness, to be kept as a sign against the rebels, so that you may put an end to their grumblings against me, lest they die. And Moshe did as Yahu'ah commanded him, so he did. And the children of Yisrael spoke to Moshe, saying, See, we shall die, we shall perish, we shall all perish. Anyone who comes near the Mishkan of Yahu'ah dies. Shall we be consumed to die? Chapter 18. And Yahu'ah said to Aaron, You and your sons in your father's house with you are to bear the wickedness against the Mikdash, and you and your sons with you are to bear the wickedness against your kahuna. But bring with you your brothers of the tribe of Lewi too, the tribe of your father, to join you and serve you while you and your sons are with you before the tent of witness. And they shall guard your charge and the duty of all the tent, but they do not come near the furnishings of the Kiddush place and the altar, lest they die, both they and you. And they shall be joined with you and guard the duty of the tent of appointment for all the service of the tent, but a stranger does not come near you. And you shall guard the duty of the Kiddush place and the duty of the altar, so that there be no more wrath on the children of Yisrael. And see, I myself have taken your brothers, the Lewites, from the midst of the children of Yisrael, a gift to you given by Yahu'ah, to do the service of the tent of appointment. But you and your sons with you are to guard your kahuna for all matters at the altar and behind the veil, and you shall serve. I have given you the kahuna as a gift for service, but the stranger who comes near it is put to death. And Yahuwah spoke to Aaron, and see, I myself have also given you the charge of my contributions, all the Kiddush gifts of the children of Yisrael. I have given them to you for the anointing and to your sons as a law forever. This is yours of the most Kadosh gifts from the fire, all their offerings, all their grain offerings, and all their sin offerings, and all their guilt offerings, which they render to me, are most Kadosh for you and your sons. Eat it in the most Kadosh place. Every male eats it. It is Kadosh to you. This also is yours, the contribution of the gift with all the wave offerings of the children of Yisrael. I have given them to you and your sons and the daughters with you as a law forever. Everyone who is clean in your house eats it. All the best of the oil and all the best of the new wine and the new grain, the first fruits which they give to Yahu'ah, I have given them to you. The first fruits of all that is in their land, which they bring to Yahu'ah, are yours. Everyone who is clean in your house eats it. All that is dedicated in Yisrael is yours. Everyone opening a womb of all flesh, which they bring to Yahu'ah, whether man or beast, is yours. But the firstborn of man you shall certainly ransom, for the firstborn of the unclean beast you ransom. And ransom their ransomed ones when 1 month old, according to your valuation, 5 shekels of silver according to the shekel of the Kadosh place, which is 20 gerahs. But the firstborn of a cow, or the firstborn of a sheep, or the firstborn of a goat, you do not ransom. They are Kadosh. Sprinkle their blood on the altar and burn their fat as an offering made by fire for a sweet fragrance to Yahuwah. And their flesh is yours as the waif beast, and as the right thigh it is yours. All the contributions of the Kadosh gifts which the children of Yisrael present to Yahuwah, I have given to you and your sons and daughters with you as a law forever. It is a covenant of salt forever before Yahuwah with you and your seed with you. And Yahuwah said to Aaron, you are not to have any inheritance in their land, nor have any portion in their midst. I am your portion and your inheritance among the children of Yisrael. And see, I have given the children of Levi all the tithes in Yisrael as an inheritance in return for the service which they are serving, the service of the tent of appointment. And let the children of Yisrael no more come near the tent of appointment, lest they bear sin and die. Because the Levites shall do the service of the tent of appointment, so they themselves bear their wickedness, a law forever, throughout your generations, that among the children of Yisrael they are to have no inheritance. But the tithes of the children of Yisrael, which they present as a contribution to Yahuwah, I have given to the Levites as an inheritance. That is why I have said to them, among the children of Yisrael they have no inheritance. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the Levites and say to them, when you take from the children of Yisrael the tithes which I have given from them as your inheritance, then you shall present a contribution of it to Yahuwah, 1/10 of the tithe. And your contribution shall be reckoned to you as a grain from the threshing floor, and as filling from the winepress. Thus you also present a contribution unto Yahuwah from all your tithes which you have received from the children of Yisrael, and you shall give from it the contribution to Yahuwah to Aaron the Kohan. For all your gifts you present every contribution due to Yahuwah, from all the best of them, the Kadosh part of them. And you shall say to them, when you have presented the best of it, Then the rest shall be reckoned to the Levites as the yield of the threshing floor, and as the yield of the winepress. And you shall eat it in any place you and your households, for it is your reward for your service in the tent of appointment. And bear no sin because of it when you have presented the best of it, and do not profane the Kadesh gifts of the children of Yisrael, lest you die. Chapter 19. And Yahu'ah spoke to Moshe and to Aaron, saying, This is the law of the Torah which Yahu'ah has commanded, saying, Speak to the children of Yisrael, that they bring you a red heifer, a perfect one, in which there is no blemish, on which a yoke has never come. And you shall give it to Eleazar the Kohan, and he shall bring it outside the camp, and shall slaughter it before him. And Eleazar the Kohan shall take some of its blood with his finger, and sprinkle it, some of its blood, 7 times toward the front of the tent of appointment. And the heifer shall be burned before his eyes. He burns its hide and its flesh, and its blood and its dung. And the Kohan shall take cedar wood and hyssop and scarlet, and throw them into the midst of the fire, burning the heifer. And the Kohan shall then wash his garments, and shall bathe his body in water, and afterward come into the camp. But the Kohan is unclean until evening. And he who is burning it washes his garments in water, and shall bathe his body in water, and is unclean until evening. And a clean man shall gather up the ashes of the heifer, and shall place them outside the camp in a clean place. And they shall be kept for the congregation of the children of Yisrael. For the water of uncleanness, it is for cleaning from sin. And he who gathers the ashes of the heifer shall wash his garments, and is unclean until evening. And it shall be a law forever, the children of Yisrael, and the stranger who sojourns in their midst. He who touches the dead of any mankind, being is unclean for 7 days. He is to cleanse himself with the water on the 3rd day, and on the 7th day he is clean. But if he does not cleanse himself on the 3rd day, then on the 7th day he is not clean. Anyone who touches the dead of mankind and does not cleanse himself defiles the Mishkan of Yahu'ah, and that being shall be cut off from Yisrael. He is unclean, for the water of uncleanness was not sprinkled on him. His uncleanness is still upon him. This is the Torah when a man dies in a tent. All who come into the tent and all who are in the tent are unclean for 7 days. And every open vessel which has no cover fastened on it is unclean. Anyone in the open field who touches someone slain by a sword who has died, or a bone of a man, or a grave, is unclean for 7 days. And for the unclean being they shall take some of the ashes of the heifer burnt for the cleansing from sin, and running water shall be put on them in a vessel. And a clean man shall take hyssop and dip it in water, and shall sprinkle it on the tent, and on the vessels, and on the beings who were there, or on the one who touched a bone, or the slain, or the dead, or a grave. And the clean one shall sprinkle the unclean on the 3rd day and on the 7th day, and on the 7th day he shall cleanse himself and wash his garments, and bathe in water, and shall be clean in the evening. But the man who is unclean and does not cleanse himself, that being shall be cut off from among the assembly, because he has defiled the the Mikdash of Yahu'ah. Water for uncleanness has not been sprinkled on him; he is unclean. And it shall be a law for them forever. And the one who sprinkles the water for uncleanness washes his garments. And the one who touches the water for uncleanness is unclean until evening. And whatever the unclean being touches is unclean, and the being who touches it is unclean until evening. Chapter 20. And the children of Yashrael, all the congregation, came into the wilderness of Sin in the first month, and the people stayed in Kadesh. And Miriam died there and was buried there. Now there was no water for the congregation, and they assembled against Moshe and against Aaron. And the people contended with Moshe and spoke, saying, If only we had died when our brothers died before Yahu'ah. Why have you brought up the assembly of Yahu'ah into the wilderness, that we and our livestock should die there? And why have you brought us up out of Mishraim to bring us to this evil place, not a place of grain or figs or wine or vines or pomegranates, and there is no water to drink? Then Moshe and Aaron went from the presence of the assembly to the door of the tent of appointment, and they fell on their faces, and the esteem of Yahuwah appeared to them. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, Take the rod and the assembly, and assemble the congregation, and you and your brother Aaron, and you shall speak to the rod before their eyes, and it shall give its water. And you shall bring water for them out of the rock, and give drink to the congregation and their livestock. And Moshe took the rod from before Yahuwah as he commanded him. And Moshe and Aaron assembled the assembly before the rock. And he said to them, Hear now, you rebels, shall we bring water for you out of this rock? Then Moshe lifted his hand and struck the rock twice with his rod, and much water came out, and the congregation of their livestock drank. But Yahuwah spoke to Moshe and to Aaron, Because you did not believe me to Kadesh, me in the eyes of the children of Yashrael, therefore you do not bring this assembly into the land which I have given them. These were the waters of Meribah, because the children of Yashrael contended with Yahuwah, and he was Kadesh among them. And Moshe sent messengers from Kadesh to the sovereign of Edom. This is what your brother Yashrael said. You know all the hardship that has befallen us. That our fathers went down to Mishraim, and we dwelt in Mishraim a long time. And the Mishrites did evil to us and our fathers. And we cried out to Yahuwah, and he heard our voice, and sent the messenger, and brought us up out of Mishraim. And see, we are in Kadesh, a city of the edge of your border. Please let us pass over through your land. We shall not pass over through fields or vineyards, nor drink water from wells. We shall go along the sovereign's highway. We shall not turn aside right or left, until we have passed over your border. But Edom said to him, You do not pass over through me, lest I come out against you with the sword. And the children of Yashrael said to him, We should go by the highway, and if I or my livestock drink any of your water, then I shall pay for it. Let me only pass over on foot without a word. But he said, You do not pass over. And Edom came out against them with many men and with a strong hand. So when Edom refused to let Yashrael pass over through his border, Yashrael turned away from him. And the children of Yashrael, all the company, departed from Kadesh and came to Mount Hor. And Yahu'ah spoke to Moshe and to Aaron in Mount Hor near the border of the land of Edom, saying, Aaron is to be gathered to his people, for he is not to enter the land which I have given to the children of Yashrael, because you rebelled against my mouth at the water of Meribah. Take Aaron and Eleazar his son, and bring them up to Mount Hor. And strip Aaron of his garments, and put them on Eleazar his son, for Aaron is to be gathered to his people and die there. And Moshe did as Yahu'ah commanded, and they went up to Mount Hor before the eyes of all the congregation. And Moshe stripped Aaron of his garments, and put them on Eleazar his son. And Aaron died there on the top of the mountain. And Moshe and Eleazar came down from the mountain. And when all the congregation saw that Aaron was dead, all the house of Yeshua wept for Aaron 30 days.